I crack myself up sometimes because there's some projects like I just jump in without a plan and I just wing it as I go, and I'm totally fine with that. And then there's some projects that I'm going to overthink for 6 months or 2 years or something like that. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Yarn Everywhere podcast. This is episode number 47, and I can't wait to show you all that I'm working on. It has been 2 weeks since I podcasted, so there's a lot to share, and I'm going to dive right in and show you my whips. Let me start out with my smallest whip. I haven't made a lot of progress on this because I've been focusing a lot on another one. I'm loving this color. I love watching the different colors pop up as I'm making this. So this is another vanilla sock. I am just stuck on the vanilla sock pattern by the Crazy Sock Lady. I know I eventually need to grow and try like a more challenging pattern, but the reason why I love this pattern is because once you get it down, it's mindless. And sometimes you just need those mindless whips. And right now, this is my go-to for just sitting and knitting and not having to think. This is the Rockstar colorway from Stitching with Yarn, and when I saw this, I had to have it. And I talked a couple podcasts ago about me trying to resist buying another one, and then she ended up selling out. So thank you, whoever saved me from myself on that one. But I have more to that story, and we'll get into that later. So here is the Rockstar colorway. And I'm really excited to be making some socks with this. And I just started this the other day, and I think I'm only like 2 rows in on the cuff. And you'll see why I haven't made much progress on this in just a minute. Okay, my next whip is a Musselburgh hat for me. So if you've been watching the last couple of weeks, you know the whole fiasco I had with sizing my husband's. Well, the same thing happened with mine. Well, I haven't frogged my old one yet. It's actually right here to be frogged. I just took the other hank of yarn and started another one. And what I'm doing, instead of following the directions for sizing in the pattern, because I clearly don't pay attention, I am using my guide to sizing hats. And it worked perfectly for my husband's hat, so I'm doing the same thing for mine. This is the project that goes in my purse. Whenever I go anywhere and I'm going to be sitting in the car or at a meeting at church or something like that, I'm now to the point where it's just mindless knitting. I started this last week, and this is how far I've gotten, and I haven't really spent a lot of time on it, but I am loving the way that it is working up, and I am using my candy painted colorway from, I believe it was August Yarn Club. The theme was Chasing Sunsets, and I couldn't resist keeping 2 of these colors for me, and I'm glad I finally found a project. I feel like by the time that I finish this, it's gonna be like consistently 60 and 70 degrees, but you know what? At least it will be ready to go next fall when it's cold and I'll need it. My next whip is a crochet whip. And I'm using some yarn that I had set aside for over a year, and I just didn't know what I wanted to make with it. Look how pretty that is. I don't remember the name of the colorway. I actually think this is from December 2021's Yarn Club. I believe the theme was like Winter Wonderland or Winter Berries. I can't remember, but I just love this color with the pops of purple in there. And I am making a fingerless glove with it. This is my Pebbles fingerless glove crochet pattern. And I am whipping this one up to refresh my memory on how to make it. And then I'm going to be doing a video tutorial for my YouTube channel for this pattern. I'm excited about that because that is one of my goals this year, is to have more video tutorials for my crochet patterns. And I remember wanting to crochet some fingerless gloves, but I could not wrap my brain around it. I'm like, how does that even work? Like, how do you get the thumb hole and things like that? And at the time, I could not find a video tutorial for a fingerless gloves pattern. That's kind of where my brain is as far as which patterns to put on my YouTube channel first. And after I do this video tutorial, I believe I'm going to do a triangle cowl crochet pattern, because that was another one that I just couldn't wrap my brain around. And I had so many questions about it. Thankfully, the first triangle cowl that I ever made, one of my really good friends designed, and I could ask her all of my questions. She made it less intimidating for me. So that is my goal with my video tutorials, is I want to make those projects less intimidating and just take you step by step on how to make it. As a visual learner, I know that it is easier for me to wrap my brain around something when I can visually see them working it up versus reading a crochet pattern. And then once I see it being worked up, then I can refer to the crochet pattern, and I'm usually good after that. But it's like that little security of just knowing that there's a video in case I get confused. So that is just one of the many projects that I'm kind of working on over here behind the scenes when I have time. So let me know, what crochet projects have you been wanting to make that just seem really intimidating, and so you just keep putting it off? Making a mess here. And you would love to see a video tutorial for. I don't know what's going on right now. Are you ready to see the project that has really just been consuming my time right now? I've been talking about it for a while. I finally got started on it this weekend, and it has been such a joy to work on. It is my sweater. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, this is basically all I've been posting about, because when I'm sitting down in the evenings, this is what I'm working on. So are you ready to see this whole thing? Here it is. So this is the collar part of it. Isn't it gorgeous? I'm so glad that I went with the tonal for my first sweater. It took me, I want to say, a month to finally decide. I went back and forth about what color I wanted. I really wanted a gray and pink. And then finally I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to keep it really simple and just do a tonal for my first one. And I'm so glad I did, because I'm obsessed with this. I love the different shades of the same color. So a couple of nights ago, I was like, wow, I am making a lot of progress on this. This is working up really quickly. So I decided that I would be all fancy and I would try it on. Y'all, it came to like right here. I was like, oh, well, maybe I haven't made that much progress. I only have a few more rounds before I start doing the split for the sleeves. And honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. It sounds fancy. It sounds like I know what I'm doing, but I really don't. And I'm not worrying about it until I get to that part. And then I'm going to be like stalking the YouTube videos, because that part is the part that's really intimidating me. I'm like, ooh, can I do this? But I'm going to tell myself that I can. And I really think before I start any of that, I am going to put a lifeline in. That way, if I make a mistake, I will be able to fix it and not have to like frog the whole thing. This is the progress that I've made, and I'm just loving it. Like, I'm already thinking about colors for my next one. And this pattern is called the Comfort Sweater by Darling Jador. I'll have a link to that pattern below. So one last look at it, and I'll show you my next project. My next project is the Scrappy project that I have been talking about starting. And let me just talk it out. Okay, so here was my idea. This is the start of a Scrappy granny stripe blanket. And let me just tell you, like, this is very rare for me, but I've been super organized with this. Like, I came in with a plan. I made the first row and I modified the pattern a lot, because the thought of just like chaining and then working back through those chains, it drove me batty. So I did a foundation single crochet chain. It just seemed way less daunting that way. So this is what I did. I'm really proud of myself, okay? I took notes. This is my design book, but one thing I started doing is taking notes on all of the projects that I'm working on, and I'm so glad that I started doing this. I kind of did this all along, but I would start out doing good, and then I would just kind of forget about it, so it was just like notes that really just didn't make sense. But my goal this year is to be a little bit more organized when it comes to my whips. Like, look at this. I'm so proud. I've never done this before. Don't know if I'm going to keep doing it, but I'm going to try. Like my Brinley scarf, I have which hook I used, what size, the yarn that I used. And look, I even taped a little piece of scrap yarn to that. I'm just so proud. It's probably the only time I'm going to do that. But, okay, sorry. Back to the granny stripe blanket. I took notes on what I did, and then for the foundation single crochet chain, I weighed it afterwards, put how many grams it took, so that way I could get, let me find it. Okay, I found it. Then I did the first row in the pattern, and I weighed it. That way I knew how many grams it took to do row 1. Then I went and I did row 2 and weighed it again, and I wrote it down. Like, super proud. That is not me. I'm like, I'm gonna wing it, just go with the flow, figure it out later, whatever. Let me just share my results with you. So row 1 took 13 grams, and then row 2, that is no longer here. I'll get to that in a minute. Row 2 took 14 grams. So I'm just gonna average 14 grams for each row. So here was my plan. I was going to do 2 stripes for each color. I did the second row and dug into my scrap pile, and I started weighing the colors that I wanted to do next. Some of them were not even enough to do an entire row. So I was like, okay, well, there went that idea. So then I had a decision to make. Do I want to go through and weigh my scraps and figure out which colors will make an entire row? Or do I want to just start grabbing my scraps at random, and when I run out, add in the new color and go from there? I really want this project to be kind of a laid back project and not like something I have to think a lot about, but here I am like totally overthinking it. The other part of it is this baby is 60 inches long. Y'all, I'm not even 60 inches tall. I don't know what I was thinking starting my blanket that wide. That's where I'm at with this. I think what I'm going to do is going to frog this, as bad as I don't want to. I think I'm going to frog this, and I'm going to focus on making like a lap size blanket and not a huge throw. And then go back through the process of weighing each row and figuring out how much yarn it takes per row, because I think I at least want one stripe to be one color. Then at the end of the row, whatever yarn I have left over, I can add to my magic knot ball. And with my magic knot ball, I am thinking about doing a granny stripe scarf. That's where I'm at. I really want to use up some of my scraps because they've been sitting here and collecting for years now. And I think for the blanket, I want it to be just a little bit more planned out and not so random. And then for the scarf, it can be like my scarf of many colors, and wherever the color ends, it ends, and it's just going to transition into the next color. That's where I'm at on my scrappy projects. This is all with my worsted weight scraps. I have no idea what I'm going to do with my fingering weight or DK weight scraps. I'm just going to continue to let those build up while I focus on my worsted weight scraps. Now you see why I saved this for my last whip, because I really needed to talk that out. Let me know if you have made scrappy projects, how you did it. Did you plan out the colors, or did you just let it go and whenever you ran out of color, added a new color in? That is honestly how I would normally do it, but for some reason, I'm way overthinking this one. Last one for the whips, I want to update you on my Worth wrap. I was going back and forth about if I wanted to frog this from a mistake that I made. I don't even know where it's at. I did decide that I am going to frog this. It's not the end of this project though. My plan is after I finish my sweater, I will restart this project. I do want to go up a needle size because I feel like I want more drape to it. And my tension was really tight with that size. So that's my plan for this. I absolutely love it. I think it has just a gorgeous texture to it. And I love how the colors work, and I love the colors that I picked out for it. So I haven't forgotten about this project. I just kind of had to leave it in timeout until I decided what to do with it. And now I feel better that I have a plan, but this is another one of those projects that's going to take a while, and I really want to focus on my sweater and the projects that I have going on right now, and then I will revisit this one later. Now, let me show you all that I have finished. I was talking earlier about finishing my husband's hat. I don't think I actually had it finished the last time I podcasted. I forgot that it has been 2 weeks since I podcasted, and I'll tell you about that. Let me show you. I haven't gotten a picture of him in it yet, but he has worn it and he loves it. So here is his hat. Y'all, it just makes my heart so happy how much he loves this hat. He tried it on and he was just like wearing it in the house, and he would get up and he'd go look in the mirror. He's like, I dyed this yarn. I was like, isn't that an amazing feeling? He's like, yeah, like how cool is that? I was like, I know. I ended up using very little of the yarn that I had to dye to finish the hat. Since I had the sizing right, it didn't take near as much yarn as I thought. I actually need to weigh this and figure out how much yarn it actually took. He loves it, and he was so sweet the other day. After he'd worn it out, he still had it on, and he was like, man, you nailed the size on this hat. He's like, it fits perfectly. I was like, oh, thank you. Like, it was worth the almost meltdown that I had and all the time that I put into this. Despite the challenges that I had with this, it still was a joy to make this. Hopefully, I will get some pictures of him in it. When I finished this, we were having like 60 and 70 degree weather. But yesterday, it was almost 70 degrees and then dropped down to 30 degrees. And I think it's going to be kind of cold over the weekend. So fingers crossed, I will get some pictures of him in his hat because he is super proud of it. And he looks really good in it too. So the reason why I did not podcast last week is because we have been having all these crazy weather changes and it triggers my migraine. So I have been fighting a migraine for 2 weeks now. Even if I didn't have like a full-blown migraine, I was having these cluster like tension headaches from it. And last Friday, I was feeling a little bit better. But the thought of coming in here with all of these lights, and then after I do the podcast, if you've seen my bloopers, you know the struggle is real. The thought of looking at the screen and having to edit it, I just couldn't do it. As bad as I hated to skip a week, I just was not feeling good. It's been rough. But last night, after the storms were gone, it was just like my head was better than it has been in weeks. I woke up this morning feeling better than I felt in weeks. I'm hoping that that is gone. Okay, now let me show you another finished project. This is the Stay Posted hat that one of my yarn club members designed and released. It was her very first crochet pattern release, and let me just tell you, this was a joy to make. I love, love, love all the texture and the squishiness. It just feels amazing. And look how it shows off all the colors in that yarn. I haven't added a pom-pom to it, and I don't know if I will. I think it would be really cute with one, but most of the time when I wear hats, I don't have a pom-pom on it. So this is the Stay Posted hat, and I will post a link below to the pattern in case you want to make one. I also finished the Avocardio socks that I've been working on forever. I love how this yarn worked up. It is so pretty. They just look so tiny. I'm used to making medium ones, and this is a size small. So now that I've shown them off on the podcast, I can get them in the mail to my friend. It always makes me nervous making things for other people, especially if I don't have measurements, because I want them to fit. So fingers crossed that these will fit and that she will love them. If not, I still have some yarn left and I can whip up another pair for her. It's just gonna take a long time. Okay, I have one more whip to show you. This one is my Brinley Scarf. I love this color and how cozy this is. I have it wrapped 3 times just so you can see the detail on the end, but normally I would probably only wrap it twice and have it like hanging down further. I'm so excited to have this done and that the pattern test is almost finished for this because I have been wanting to revisit this pattern for a really long time, and I feel like I'm happy with the way that the pattern is written now. I've made a few changes that just make the pattern such a joy to work up now. Not that there was really anything wrong with it before, but I could see where it could be just a little bit confusing. And also, it did not have these nice clean edges. Plus, I will now have a step-by-step video tutorial for this crochet pattern. So that is coming soon. It should be around the first week of March, but of course I will announce it on here and on social media. And if you're on my email list, I will send out an email as well. I can't wait for the pattern test to be done so I can share with you all of the Brinley scarves that my testers have made, because they have just knocked it out of the park. All right, those are all of my current projects. Now I'm going to share with you some new things that I got in, and you're probably going to laugh at this one. Christy at Stitching with Yarn dyed more of the Rockstar colorway. And I bought another hank of it. I couldn't help myself. It is just so pretty. Look at all of those colors. And look at that stitch marker. It's so pretty. Let me show you what else Christy sent. Is that not gorgeous? This colorway is called Magic Potion, and look at all of those colors. Not sure what I'm gonna make with this yet, but when I first saw it, I instantly thought socks. And I thought about some socks for my mom, because I feel like my mom would really love these colors. I swear I need just like a week's vacation to do nothing but work on projects so I can start more projects. Does anybody else feel that way? Okay. She also sent this color, and I think you're gonna be surprised. Are you ready? Look at that. This one is called Rustic, and you know me, not a huge fan of brown. These are not my go-to colors, but when I saw this, something clicked for me. A lot of my Yarn Club members will say that I have them liking colors that they normally are not drawn to, and I was like, well, that's great, but I didn't fully get it until this yarn came in. I was shocked at how much I liked this. The orange and the red and the little bit of brown in there. Okay, maybe it's a lot of brown, but I really, really like it. I don't know what I'm gonna make with it yet. Not gonna lie, I instantly thought socks, because I love making socks, but I kind of feel like it needs to be something else. So this is DK weight yarn. And I feel like it's just one of those colorways that I'm just going to have to stare at a little bit and decide what I want to make with it. One last peek. So all of these are from Christy with Stitching with Yarn. Let me know, what would you make with them? The next thing I want to share with you is another twice sheared sheep order. I could not help myself. These are some knit extension cords, and I knew that with my first time knitting a sweater that I was going to want to try it on. So I ordered some of these so I could try the sweater on and not worry about dropping stitches or anything like that. I was super nervous when I tried it on for the first time. Like, I'm like kind of gently tugging these on the needles to make sure it's not going to pop off. And as I was trying it on, I had just like a death grip on the ends of the needles. Like, okay, it's still on there. It's still on there. And then once I got it on, and just like, I was just kind of gently putting the yarn over these. And I want to report that they didn't come off my needle ends. So now I won't be hesitant to try my sweater on as it grows, because I did not gauge swatch. I just don't like gauge swatching. I just wanted to jump in and start my sweater, and I just don't really trust myself when it comes to gauge swatching. So that's kind of my excuse there, and I'm just going to keep trying it on as I go and hope it fits. I'm okay if it's a little too big, because I like an oversized sweater. I just don't want it to be too small. I don't like anything really tight on me. The other thing that I ordered from Twice Sheared Sheep are some more tip ties, because I'm so bad about just grabbing my work, and I have pulled the work off of my needles so many times that I have to have these on there. It's so funny, because some of like my knit friends that have been knitting forever, they're like, I've never used anything like that. And I'm like, well, that is awesome. I'm not at that level yet, so I want all the help that I can get. And I ordered 3 sets of these, and now they're sold out. It was not me. I only ordered 3 sets. But if you are a new knitter and you are like I am, and you're just kind of freaked out about pulling the needles out of your work, I cannot recommend these more. I have tried several different kinds and I liked them. They had a tendency to come off, or when I took them off and I set them somewhere, they would like roll somewhere. So then I never had a matching set. So I'm really enjoying these, and I'm so glad that I found these. I will post a link below to Twice Sheared Sheep. It is my affiliate link. So if you order anything through that link, I will make a small commission, and I greatly appreciate it so I can buy more goodies. The next thing I want to share with you are these super cute stitch markers. I actually haven't even opened them yet. I did not want to lose them because I wanted to share them on the podcast. How cute are these little Starbucks stitch markers? These came from Crafted by Ella, and she is one of my Yarn Club members, and I had no idea that she made stitch markers until I got these in, and I just think they are so cute. Now that I've shared them, I can actually use them, so I'm even more excited. The last thing that I got in are some new hooks from Furls Crochet. How gorgeous is this color? I would call this like an eggplant purple, but these are their new Amethyst Odyssey hooks. And I use Odyssey hooks almost exclusively. If I use another hook, it's going to be like their Streamline. I've been using their Odyssey hooks for years now. Just had to share with you, they have a new color, and I couldn't resist getting the new color. I almost forgot, I actually do have one more thing to share with you. My Yarnable box came in. The last time that I podcasted, after I got done, I went and checked the mail, and this was in my mailbox. So I've had this sitting here for 2 weeks, not touching it, because I wanted to share with you what was in the Yarnable box. So if you subscribe to Cheryls Subscription Box and you haven't gotten your February 2023 box yet, you may want to pause it or fast forward so I don't spoil any surprises for you. So I thought it was super funny that we both have the same thing. So her box was the February box, because how she does it is the month that you get it is the month that she names that box. So her February 2023 box shipped out like at the end of January, early February. That was her February box. I'm a little different. My box that ships out at the end of January is my January box, just because that's how I have to keep it in my brain. And it's like a month-long experience in our yarn club. Like the suspense kind of builds. We talk about the theme, and I tease them a little bit about the colors and all of that stuff. So it ships at the end of January, and some of them don't get them till February, but I still call that my January box because that's just how I keep it straight. But anyways, we both had the same theme, which was love language. And it just makes me so happy that we had the same thing, but it goes to show you that you have the same theme in mind. We all are going to put our own spin on it. So let me show you Cheryl's spin on love language. I feel like we have about the same love language. One of the items is this super cute tote bag that says, yarn is my love language. Like, yes. I'm the type of person, like, I love all the project bags. All the project bags, all the Notion bags, like, give me all of the bags. There was also this super cute Always and Forever hat pattern designed by Cheryl. And there was this project details tracker notepad. This is absolutely perfect because you can write the details on there, and then you can rip it off and put it in your project bag. So then you have all of the things right there. Those were the extras, and now let me show you the yarn. How pretty is this yarn? Carrie at the Happy Crafty Homemaker, she subscribes to Cheryl's Yarnable Box, and she also subscribes to my yarn club, and she does an unboxing every month. And I really enjoyed watching her do the unboxing this month because she pulled out her stash of Cheryl yarn and my yarn, and she was just kind of showing how you can take yarns from the same dyer and mix and match them. And then she also put some of my yarn with Cheryl's yarn and was talking about projects and how she would match them and things like that. And I really enjoyed seeing that. And I'm not gonna lie, I really hope that she does make a project with my yarn and Cheryl's yarn. I don't know, just having my yarn next to Cheryl's yarn, it just makes me so happy. So I will post a link to that below in case you are new to her. You can go check her out. I really enjoy watching her unboxing videos, and I also really enjoy watching like her show and tells. She really gives you a lot of ideas of projects to make and things like that. So I will post a link below so you can go check her out. That is all the new stuff that I have to share with you today. So let me dive into yarn news. All of my February Yarn Club colorways have been dyed, and I will start twisting them up this weekend and getting ready to ship out. This is the most exciting part of the month for me because I cannot wait for my Yarn Club members to see their yarn and all of their extra goodies. Like, I feel like when the yarn has been dyed, like it should just be ready to ship out. And that's actually when all of the work starts. So I have to be super patient with myself. And it's like all these tiny little details that need to come together so I can ship out. And I'm not the best with the tiny little details. So I feel like, oh, everything should be ready, and it's not. It's just because I'm so excited. Like, I want them to have it now. Wrapping up February's Yarn Club is going to be my main focus right now and getting everything ready to ship out. And I'm also going to jump in the dye room and try a new technique for my finger paint yarns. Yarns are one-of-a-kind yarns that I cannot repeat. And here are some of the ones that I just could not part with. This one is one of just my all-time favorite colorways. This one too. And I don't have names for them because they were just one of a kind that I can't repeat. So I just called them one of a kind. So the colorful yarn in this hat is a finger paint yarn. It's just kind of a technique that I made up when I first started dyeing yarn. And what I would do, especially like when I got new colors in, I would throw a hank of yarn in a pan and start heating it up. Then I would dip my finger in the dye powder, and then I would touch the yarn in random spots until my fingers came back clean. Then I would dry my hands and go to the next one and do the same thing. So in order to repeat it, I would have to know like what color I used first, exactly where I put it on the yarn, how much, all of the things. It was just one of those things that you just really cannot repeat it. And it would take like at least an hour to dye one hank of yarn. So as I grew as a dyer, it was something that I just kind of didn't do anymore because spending an hour on one hank of yarn, and then I'm probably going to keep that one hank of yarn because it's so pretty. It just was not an efficient way to work. I love this super colorful yarn and I want others to be able to have it. So I have some ideas, and I was talking it over with my friend Cheryl and also another dyer friend and explaining to them how I do it and my idea for kind of recreating it and being able to do more than one hank of yarn at a time. So I think I finally have my head wrapped around how that is possible. It will still be a one-of-a-kind colorway, but I'll be able to do more than just one hank of yarn. So I'm going to get in the dye room later today and just play around and see how that goes. So I'm like beyond excited to get in there and just play with colors. My biggest challenge is going to be deciding what colors I'm going to use, sticking with just those, and then using those colors for several pans of yarn because I have so many ideas. It's like I want to get in there and I want to do all of my ideas, and that's kind of going to defeat the purpose of making a bunch of yarn in the same colorway. So my plan is to go in and at least have 3 pans and do the same colors on all 3 pans and seeing how it goes. Then I can get in there and play with all the colors later on. I'm kind of going back and forth in my head about what colors I want to do. So what I do is I go to Pinterest and I'll just do like color inspiration photos. And I was screenshotting some of them at 5:30 this morning. So let me share with you some of my favorites. I really love those colors together. And those. Y'all are going to just be so surprised by these colors. This one actually does surprise me a little bit. I liked all of those. So I'm just like, I'm just going to screenshot this whole thing. I'm already thinking like bright summer colors and we're not even at spring yet. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Who knows what I'll actually pick when I get in there, but I'm trying not to just do all pink because I'm on a pink kick right now and not everybody else is with me. So I'll know more on the next podcast and I'll hopefully have some yarn to show you. All right, I am gonna wrap it up with ends check, y'all. I did weave in the ends on a project that has been sitting around for a long time. This is my Brinley Ear Warmer. I have two Brinley Ear Warmer patterns. This is just the regular Brinley Ear Warmer, and then I have another one that is the Twisted Ear Warmer. My favorite ear warmers are the Twisted Ear Warmers, but lately I really have been enjoying just the simple ear warmers that you can just throw on over your ears and it's not too wide. And I love the texture of the Brinleys, and I also love that the puff stitches show off all of the colors in the yarn. So this is my Japanese cherry blossom colorway that is one of like my all-time favorites. Every time I dyed, I'm gonna keep a hank of yarn for me. So I'll post a link to this pattern below in case you want to make one. The other day, I made the mistake of going in the closet in my yarn room. That is a very scary place, let me tell you. There's a lot of stuff in there. And I found more projects that are finished. They just need the ends weaved in on them. When I first started knitting, one of the reasons why I wanted to learn to knit was to make big chunky knit beanies. And I went on a binge and I made a bunch of them. A bunch. Here are just 3 that I've made. I know I made at least 3 or 4 in this color, and not last fall, but the fall before that, I donated several of these to like a charity auction. And then I have gifted some to friends and things like that. I know it's so weird for me, but I've always been drawn to this colorway. I love the grays and that color, the neutrals. I don't know why. It's so weird, but I've always been drawn to this color, and I think it makes fantastic hats. I can't believe I just said that on the podcast, but here we are. And then I really love all of the colors in this one. And this is another one of my favorite colorways from the Lion brand, Wool Ease Thick and Quick or something like that. I think that's the name of it. So all of these are finished. They just need the ends weaved in on them, and they need pom-poms attached to them. This is going in a to-do pile that I will hopefully have finished by the next podcast. Also, as I was going through my scrap yarns, I found more granny squares that I made. I'm so good about weaving the ends in on these granny squares as I make them until I get to the last one. And then it's just like, nah. I don't know. It's just my thing, I guess. Here's another one with the ends. See, look, this one's done. The reason why I love granny squares so much is because I can play around with color. And here's another one. I had another idea as I finished my Brinley scarf and my Stay Posted beanie. I think what I'm gonna do when I finish a crochet project is make a granny square with the leftover yarn, because I think it would be really neat to make like a blanket or something and remember, oh, I made such and such with that colorway. Oh, I made such and such with that colorway. So that's another idea that I have for using up scrap yarns. I just need to like pick one and stick with it, because some of these projects, I really don't have a lot of scraps left. Like I need to either make a granny square with it or put it in the blanket that I want to make, because I don't have enough to do both. This is one of the reasons why I haven't started and stuck with a scrap yarn project, because I want to overthink it and I can't decide what I want to do. But I'm closer than I've ever been. So I just need to figure out what I want to do and stick with it and start that project, because it's not like I'm not going to have more scrap yarn later on. The last thing that I found in an old project bag, is the sock that I started with 9-inch circulars, and I actually really liked the 9-inch circulars for knitting socks, but I ran out of yarn and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. But I think I finally decided what to do. And Danielle, if you're listening, you're not gonna like this, because I remember when I first brought this up in another podcast, you're like, don't you dare frog that sock. But I do think I'm gonna frog it, because I'm thinking about dyeing just a tonal pink and then striping in this color on the socks. So that way I can have a matching pair of socks. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But again, I'm just gonna let it hang out until I have time to deal with it. So it's in timeout, but I'm glad that I found it, because this is from like July or August of last year. I crack myself up sometimes because there's some projects like I just jump in without a plan and I just wing it as I go, and I'm totally fine with that. And then there's some projects that I'm gonna overthink for 6 months or 2 years or something like that. Now you get a little bit of a peek inside my creative brain. It's a wild ride, y'all. Okay, that is all that I have for you this week. Thank you for hanging out with me. I am so sorry that it has been 2 weeks since I podcasted, but I hope it was worth the wait. Until next time, happy yarning. Bye for now.